Joining the webinar. Um, Today, we're going to tackle a critical topic for that impacts staffing companies, gender barriers in blue collar and entry level roles. So, alongside the presentation, we have a few questions where we would like your responses. It would just help us to understand your perspectives on the topic and also sort of make it a bit more interactive. You'll see the question and answer options pop up on your screen. All these responses are anonymous. Um, so feel free to just, select the ones which you feel are accurate. So with that, I'll dive in. Next slide. Before we dive in, I'd like to understand your company's outlook towards boosting gender diversity. So for your general staffing business, has your company set any targets for gender diversity? That is, the percentage of women that your company places in at clients. And if so, what is the change you're expecting to achieve in 2 years? So let's say if you're at of the total candidates that you have placed, today you're at 10% women, and in 2 years you aim to be at 15%, then you should mark the option 1 to 5%. So in 2 years, what is the increase in women's diversity that your company is aiming to achieve? Okay, I think that's time enough to move to the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. So now just a follow-up question to that. I'd like to understand why you feel it's critical for staffing companies to focus on gender diversity. Again, feel free to select multiple options here. And if you have any other point which is sort of not mentioned in the list, you can select others and add it. Okay, I think with that, we can move to the next slide. Okay, so thanks for sharing your perspectives. As sort of many of you may have indicated in your responses, there are multiple reasons for staffing companies to boost the percentage of women in their workforce. I personally feel there are three critical reasons. The first is that there is a huge demand from clients. Staffing companies are seeing that clients are increasingly demanding women candidates across many industries, as having more women benefits not only the business but also sort of improves the productivity of the client, improves the work culture, etc. There is also sometimes women only mandates that companies get. So to stay competitive, staffing companies such as yours need to build the capacity to hire and retain women. Third, to give you a couple of examples, one of the staffing companies got business from a warehouse player just because they said that they'll provide gender diversity. And then some other partners that we have worked with got like a 1 week exclusive time only to fill women roles. So they were able to convince the client that, give us an additional week and we'll be able to fill in the mandates with the women percentage that you're looking for. The second reason to focus on gender diversity, next slide. Yeah, the second reason to focus is that women want to be in jobs. So here is some data. I'll just pause and people can read it. We interviewed 6,600 women across India. And what we found is while there are barriers that women face in getting or in accessing jobs, a large number of women wanted to be in jobs and actually they preferred jobs over entrepreneurship as it offers a steady source of income. So just maybe pause for 30 seconds to just read this. Okay, next slide. Yeah, like I was saying, 1 in 2 women in urban India wants to work in jobs. Um, and they feel they are pretty confident that they can pick up new skills. They are okay to work in male dominated environments and sort of even non-traditional roles. Um, I mean, in summary, despite all the societal and family restrictions, women want to work, and that could be like, which opens up a big talent pool for flexi staffing companies, which is why you should focus on boosting gender diversity. Again, I'll just pause for 30 seconds so people can read some of this. Okay, next slide. And the third reason to hire women is that there are a lot of business benefits to hiring women. So we analyzed data from a mid-sized staffing company. This is based on, if I'm not wrong, around 8,000 payrolls that the company had done. And essentially, what we found is because women stayed longer, uh, there were benefits despite the sort of slight increase in cost that, for sourcing women, which is column 3 over here, the difference of women staying longer meant that the companies made more money by placing women at clients. I think there's also a lot of soft data which says that the work culture, the work environment at the clients improves, and which is why the clients then reinforce their demand for women. So there are business benefits both for the flexi staffing company as well as for clients from hiring more women. Okay, so now that we have established that this topic is critical, or hiring, boosting gender diversity is critical, we'll spend the remaining time unpacking how staffing companies can build their capacity to source more women, uh, and to unlock some of the business benefits. So with that, I'll hand it over to Pavitra, who will guide us through the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Vikram. Good morning again, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining the webinar. So I think before we dive into the solutions that can work for staffing companies, maybe let's first unpack some of the challenges that staffing companies face in placing more women. So we'll just start with a quick poll to get your perspective on this. So many of you at the start of the webinar had responded that your company is looking to increase the percentage women placed in the next 2 years. So it would be good to hear your views on what challenges do you actually foresee in achieving the target that your company has set, right? You can select one or more options from what you see on the screen. Also, if there is more, feel free to select others and post your thoughts on chat. Okay, thanks for sharing the responses. We can move back to the slide. Next slide. So I think as many of you would have indicated in the polls as well, there are multiple challenges because of which staffing companies are unable to hire women today. And the challenges cut across different stakeholders that are mentioned here. And of course, some are external. For example, families not allowing women to work, societal biases on which jobs are appropriate for women, safety concerns that families have uh, in terms of where women work, the job timings, etc. While there are a lot of these external challenges, there are also other challenges which are internal to the staffing company, predominantly the points that you see at the top section of this slide. So if we think about at an organization level for the staffing company, if the top management doesn't signal enough priority for gender diversity, be it through having gender diversity goals, training programs, or simply talking about this in the review meetings, etc. If this is not sort of present, then it's more likely that the rest of the team also wouldn't focus on this topic. The next set of internal challenges are mostly around the recruiter's capability. So what we've seen is often recruiters do not have the necessary skills to be able to hire women quickly. For example, many recruiters continue to sort of source candidates from male-dominated spaces, be it pawn shops, job portals, etc., where there are very few or no women. Whereas there are other female-friendly public spaces, be it kirana shops, Anganwadi centers, etc., but these are predominantly not the platforms that are used by recruiters, which in turn ends up limiting the pool of women candidates that they are targeting. Also, given traditionally recruiters have been focusing on male candidates, their pitch is also predominantly tailored to convince men, and it doesn't focus so much on the aspects that women value, for example, flexible timings, availability of transportation, etc. So this in turn then reduces the conversion of women leads as well. And the third point is it's also important to recognize that the recruiters are under constant pressure to fulfill the mandates that they are getting within a given time. So more often than not, they don't have sufficient bandwidth or even an incentive to sort of tailor their channels or pitch to be able to source women. So while all these challenges exist, and societal challenges, of course, will take multiple decades to get addressed, and it can't be directly solved for by the staffing companies. There are many internal challenges which staffing companies can directly solve for. Next slide, please. So I think, as Vikram mentioned, there is this growing client demand for women, and there are a lot of business benefits to gender diversity. So this is a huge opportunity for staffing companies to tap into. Um, for the rest of the webinar, we'll focus more on what staffing companies can do to unlock this opportunity, right? So the first sort of critical step is for staffing companies to move beyond the external or societal challenges and focus more on how you can change your existing recruitment practices so you're able to better target, convince, and also support the women who are wanting to work. Because, like Vikram mentioned, there is a huge pool of women in urban India who are looking to be in jobs. So, the focus is how can we actually tap into that pool? And we believe there are many ways to do it. We'll discuss some of these examples over the next few minutes. Next slide, please. So, as mentioned, there are many women who want to work, but are potentially not being targeted by recruiters today. And this could be because of multiple reasons. One is the challenges used by channels that are used by recruiters are not appropriate for women. For example, women predominantly find new jobs through referrals, but recruiters may not be explicitly asking for women referrals from their network. Second factor is recruiters also have some unconscious gender biases. We've heard many recruiters say that they don't prefer hiring women for, say, manufacturing or warehousing roles because they feel women won't or can't do the job, or women won't feel safe or comfortable working in that environment, etc. So they end up excluding women from some of those roles. So getting recruiters to actually sort of tailor their overall recruitment practice, channels, pitch, etc., to better target women, and also addressing some of these unconscious biases will help unlock a larger candidate pool that staffing companies can actually target. Next slide. So next is the issue of family permission that many women face. Now, families may not be giving permission to women for different reasons. They may have safety concerns, they may not be comfortable with the timings, location, etc. But the fact is, many women in those families are keen to work. So the question to reflect is, how can recruiters actually support the women in convincing their families, or make it easier for them to convince their families, rather than just dropping these leads altogether? We've seen that some factors like just sharing detailed information about job timings, the infrastructure or transport facilities that are available, the number of women who are working in the client company, etc., are useful pieces of information which women can then use to easily convince their families. Next slide. The third factor is around job portals, which we all know is like a popular recruitment channel for blue collar and entry level roles. But when it comes to hiring women, the gap is some women who are present on the job portal do not end up applying to roles which are relevant for them. And this is partly because the job posts are not tailored very well to women. For example, many job posts do not explicitly mention that women can apply, which lowers the number of applicants. And this is critical because some roles, like let's say delivery agents, for some of these roles, the default perception is that it's only open for men. So unless the job explicitly specifies that women can apply, people just assume that it's not open for them. Also, many job posts don't include details like job timings, facilities provided by the client, benefits that are available, etc., which are critical pieces of information that women look for. And in some cases, the qualification criteria is also might also be unnecessarily high. For example, if you think about a warehouse picker, having 12th pass as a criteria is too high, because in reality, even somebody with a lower education qualification can easily perform that role. So the point here is there is an opportunity to drive more conversions through job portals by addressing some of these information gaps that exist today and tailoring the post more for women rather than just going by the default information we add for men. Next slide. I think the last 2 points I want to touch upon here are around the overall screening and the recruitment process. So even within the internal screening process, there is some efficiency that can be brought in. So typically recruiters check for a lot more criteria when they are screening women compared to men. Some of this is again partly due to recruiters' bias. For example, if they feel that a recently married woman might leave the job soon due to pregnancy, that's an additional question they sort of bring into their recruitment process. So essentially, dropping some of these additional checks can make the sourcing process more efficient. So it, in a way, cuts down the time that's sort of taken to screen and source women candidates. Next slide. And a final point here is again related to the screening time. How can this be reduced further? One thing to recognize is, of course, women go through a lot more steps before accepting a job offer compared to men. For example, there is time involved in them discussing the role with their family and getting the family's permission. They also typically ask around about the job, workplace, etc. In many cases, they may need to figure out the transportation or commute options. All of this results in that additional time before they accept an offer that has come through. So supporting in speeding up this process by providing adequate information upfront can also improve overall sourcing. So these are just 4, 5 aspects to think about as you sort of focus on making your recruitment model more women friendly. So you're able to tap into that larger pool of candidates. Next slide. So to help staffing companies drive this change of improving gender diversity, here is sort of a roadmap that we have developed. This roadmap covers interventions that can sort of help your company start improving gender diversity gradually and also establish yourself as a more sort of reputed provider or a go-to company for hiring women candidates. This roadmap is something we developed based on pilots we've done with over 10 staffing companies ranging from mid to large size companies. And as you can see, it is phased. That's because gender diversity is not an overnight or an immediate shift. It is a longer journey. So the idea here is in the first phase, the companies can start out with very low cost changes, which give quick wins, and then sort of progress to phase 2 and phase 3, which involves initiatives that might be more involved, that might require a little more investment, that could be scaled across the organization, etc. So if you look at the first phase, it's really about just building a clear strategy on gender diversity, starting with aspects like defining which industries and roles you want to target to source more women. Then based on this, defining some gender diversity goals for your organization to pursue. And now in line with the goals, then sort of getting into execution to figure out how to customize your sales pitch and sort of identifying clients where you want to make this gender diversity pitch, etc. All of these will help bring in more mandates which are gender focused. Now, alongside this, to ensure that you're able to fulfill these new mandates, you'll also need to start training the recruiters on how they can close some of the gaps we just discussed in the previous section, basically supporting them in ensuring that the channels they use, the pitch they use, etc., is sort of tailored to women candidates as well. And additionally, what would help is having some incentives for recruiters based on gender diversity. So they also start prioritizing sourcing women rather than focusing just on male candidates. So that's sort of the first set of interventions to start this journey of improving gender diversity. Then the subsequent phases can focus more on driving this change at a larger scale within the company. So it could be talking about gender diversity in leadership meetings and reviews, setting KPIs for the teams based on gender, publishing some of the successful stories where you've been able to fulfill gender diversity mandates. So it also helps establish your credibility as a diverse staffing provider in the market. So as I mentioned, we have worked with a few companies to build and implement this roadmap. And we've seen that implementing this has actually helped many of these partner companies significantly boost their gender diversity. For example, quite a few of them were able to double the number of women on their payrolls in about 2.5 years. Many of them won diversity-focused mandates, were able to get other relaxations from client, like Vikram mentioned, more time to be able to source women candidates, etc. So we hope that some of these interventions will also help your company in sort of pursuing this journey on gender diversity. Next slide. So just as a quick feedback on what we've discussed so far, we'll just sort of start another poll to hear your thoughts on which of these practices you have already implemented or tried out in your company, or would be willing to try, say, in the next 3, 4 months. Feel free to select more options. if there are other things that you've tried out and it has worked, feel free to post on chat as well. Okay, thanks for sharing the responses. We can go back to the presentation. Next slide. Great. So I think we spent quite a bit of time discussing some of the internal practice and policy changes that can boost gender diversity. Now I want to just go back to one of the other software aspects that I briefly touched upon earlier, which is unconscious gender biases, which limit hiring of women. It's very critical to sort of address this because recognizing and addressing some of these biases can unlock huge benefits in terms of the additional candidate pool that staffing companies can target. So before we get into more details on this, we just want to play a short video which sort of highlights how this plays out in our daily work life. So we'll just switch to that video in 3-4 seconds.
Mr. Mishra, Akshay, Shalini, Kavita, Mr. Venkat.
No way. I was just being polite.
I am not guilty.
I felt bad. No, that was meant to be a joke.
No. It was just a compliment.
Let's start from the beginning and see what happened.
Thank you, thanks.
Good morning.
Morning, Mishra.
Second floor?
No, fourth actually.
Did you also get stuck in the park traffic?
No, I live next street.
I ride a scooter. Very convenient. By the way, you're looking very nice.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Acha. Appraisal meeting. Don't worry. You'll get it.
Excuse me.
Good morning, Shalini. What happened?
Don't even ask, yeah. You know that Mishra ji? He thought I'm dressed like this just to impress the boss. Can you believe that?
Men know. Okay, listen, it's our boss in. I need to ask for leave next weekend.
Leave? In the middle of appraisals? Wait, what's your excuse? Are you pregnant? Oh, no, wait. You can use your Madrasi bonding and ask him. Of course he'll give you leave. Go. Go ask him.
Okay, I see him. Na pora.
Hello?
Kavita, read the show.
Shama, you should have been in the show yesterday. You missed an amazing show, yeah. You were so good. Hey, Ashwin, how was the show yesterday? See, it was a brilliant show.
Hello, Young Achiever of the Year.
Morning, sir.
Morning, what's up?
Coffee?
Break already, yeah? Evening, 7 p.m., con call.
Sure, sir. I'll log in from home.
No, office.
Sure, sir.
Tea break, coffee break.
I don't know what bothers you where I work. Mr. Ji? Sir. Arey, baithiye. You don't have to. By the way, the project that was in the pipeline, we got it. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
In fact, I was talking to Pooja about how the clients loved your presentation and he's very happy with it. We'll be going forward. But chota sa problem hai. The client wants to run the production in 2 locations simultaneously.
No problem.
Which will involve a lot of traveling.
Sir, I can.
I know, which is exactly why I asked Pooja to take the lead so you can relax.
So now what do you say?
Arey, I was just showing empathy, considering he's disabled.
You mean differently able?
Yeah, that's what. But boss here was mean to me.
It's not as if you are perfect, Akshay. You judged me because of my disability.
Excuse me? Look who's talking. You judge me just because of the dress I'm wearing. Women don't dress just to impress people, by the way.
By the way, you keep saying I get perks because I'm from Madras. That's also not cool.
No, but that's a joke.
Oh,
You
when it
know
happens to you, it's okay.
But you know I was meaning it as a joke. How
No,
can you take it so seriously?
You keep saying it every time. 1 or 2 times. It's fine.
Stop. It's all of you. You're all guilty of unconscious bias.
What bias?
Unconscious bias. Judging people based on stereotypes which you are not even aware of. Like assuming that Shalini was well dressed only for a better appraisal. Now that's a bias, Mr. Mishra.
By the way, you're looking very nice today.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
You should have been more self-aware. And you thinking that Kavita uses her regional connect to pull favors.
No, that was meant to be a joke.
You could have showed more empathy.
In the middle of appraisals. Wait, what's your excuse? Are you pregnant? Hey,
And Akshay, you could have asked for a second opinion.
But chota sa problem hai. The client wants to run the production in 2 locations simultaneously. Which will involve... Will that be an issue?
No problem, sir. I can shuttle between the 2 locations. Thank you for asking.
Alright then. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I got it. I got it. I'm guilty of unconscious bias. I assume young people take a lot of breaks and don't take work seriously.
Guys, can we go for a coffee break?
Yeah, so hope you found the video interesting. If you have any thoughts on this, feel free to post on the chat. I think when I sort of first watched the video, found it quite powerful because it really highlights how different kinds of biases, be it based on gender, age, region, disability, etc., plays out in our daily lives. And sort of the point to recognize is while people may be well-intentioned and in many cases we don't realize that we are being biased, unfortunately, that doesn't take away the negative impact that bias has on the person who's on the receiving end. So I think with that, just sort of diving deeper into this topic, first, based on your experience, it would be good to understand how you think some of these unconscious biases, especially gender bias, affects you, your colleagues, or even your business overall. So you can select the options from the question on the screen. Great, thanks for sharing your thoughts on this. Moving to the next slide. So unconscious gender biases have a lot of impact on the workplace. Overall, of course, they limit the number of women in the organization. So the implication is that the business would miss out on the many benefits that we've discussed of having more women in the workforce. It could be better work culture, higher retention, etc. And of course, not hiring women also reduces the size of the overall candidate pool. So in the case of staffing business, it could mean that it then takes longer to fulfill certain mandates or even being unable to fulfill some of the mandates that are coming in. Also, increasingly, clients are looking for more women. So the clients who are looking to be more diverse, if they think that you are biased against women, they may choose to work with other companies who are able to provide a more diverse candidate pool. Next slide. And working in a biased environment also, of course, directly affects both men and women employees in different ways, which in turn has a negative impact on the overall culture at the workplace. For example, for women, it may mean that they're being excluded from certain roles because the managers feel women can't perform the role or not qualified enough to do it. And some of these biases may also get internalized by women, and as a result of that, women may feel discouraged to sort of perform some of these roles. The other indirect implication is if managers exhibit a biased behavior, it could also spread to the rest of the team, who then start sort of displaying a similar attitude towards women, impacting the overall workplace culture. Next slide. And the impact is not just on women. There are many impacts on male employees as well. One example is men could be excluded from certain roles as well. For example, if the manager feels only women are well suited to perform customer support role, then men don't get access to those kind of roles. And conversely, there could be certain roles and responsibilities that men get pressurized to perform all the time. For example, maybe the manager asks only the male workers to do overtime and not ask the women workers. And even the notion that caregiving is women's responsibility impacts men at workplace. So it could mean that men are not able to get their leaves approved, or they're not able to spend enough time on caregiving duties, which in turn could even lead to more attrition of male workers. So these unconscious gender biases, though hard to identify, do impact both our workplace and business in many ways. Next slide. And all of us encounter these biases. So just doing like another quick poll to see which of these biases you feel are common in your workplace. So on a scale of 1 to 5, you can select how many of your managers or recruiters will agree with each of the statements that you see here. 1 means very few will agree, and 5 means most will agree. There are 3 statements on the screen, so you can select your option for each of those. Okay, just going back to the presentation. Great. So these are some of the common biases that come up, especially when we talk about women in entry-level roles. For example, there is a bias that women can't lift parcels or work in a high-pressure environment, or that married women don't want to work because they have other responsibilities, etc. While these statements might be true for some women based on their individual circumstances, the point to note is they don't apply to all women and hence can't be generalized based on gender. The negative implication is by unconsciously sort of extending this assumption to all women, many recruiters end up missing out on this entire candidate pool. So we'll just take one example that's highlighted in blue. Hiring women is not as profitable as hiring men, and see how this can be addressed. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So here are just some sample solutions that we can try out. And given these biases are unconscious, it's important for us to take some explicit steps to actually overcome or at least minimize the bias in our workplace situations. So one example is blind resume screening, which is a popular method that many companies use. So by removing the gender identity from the CVs, it will enable us to review it only based on the skill set and not, really considering the candidate's gender. Another interesting practice that some companies have implemented is having an objective criteria for assessment. For example, let's consider a warehouse picking role that requires candidates to lift moderately heavy packages. And given the bias that women can't lift parcels, many women get rejected usually. But to address this, some companies have introduced additional step in the recruitment, wherein during the recruitment, they check if the candidate is actually able to lift and hold a specific weight for a given time, say a few seconds or a minute. So they are actually assessing based on that skill rather than just assuming that either no woman can lift this or all men can perform this role. So similar objective techniques can be applied for other roles as well, which will sort of help us reduce the bias in our recruitment in some ways. Next slide. Next slide. So here is just a quick checklist which we feel would help all of us, including the recruiters and frontline managers, to actively check if we are being biased. So whenever we are making a decision, if we can ask ourselves these 4 questions, and if the response is no to any of the questions, it indicates that we are probably being biased and need to reconsider our decision. I'll just take one example, which is the last one, which is specific to checking for gender bias. So asking the question whether I would have reacted the same way or made the same decision if it were a man helps us uncover if we are actually making some assumptions based on the person's gender rather than their individual ability. Similarly, the other questions will also help us check if our decision is based on data or fact, or is it driven by stereotypes and biases. So hopefully some of these simple questions can help us sort of recognize these unconscious biases in our daily lives and minimize the impact of some of them. With that, I'll conclude the presentation. You can go to next slide, Gaurav. If you would like Glow's support in improving gender diversity, feel free to drop your email ID and we can get in touch. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to post on chat so we can take the next few minutes to address those. Back to you, Shweta.
Also, we are not charging for the support. So if you need some guidance, please feel free to reach out.
I would request the audience, if they have any question, they can share it in the chat. While we wait, I would request Vikram and Pavitra to have some concluding remarks. This was definitely an eye-opener, and the video was definitely something that we are all unconsciously aware of, all the biases, but never actually given a deep thought to it.
Well, thank you very much, I think, ISF, for offering us this opportunity. And we are committed to helping companies boost gender diversity in their workforce or in the companies that they place. So I think this is a good platform. And feel free to reach out to us. We are, I think, if Pavitra, if you can share the email address, etc., feel free to reach out even if you have questions later. There's a lot more material that we have that could be helpful in your journey. And it's all available free at this website.
Yeah, just to add, thanks to ISF for sort of offering this opportunity to share learnings with the audience. And like Vikram mentioned, feel free to access any of the materials from our website or write to us if you have any questions. There are a lot of training materials and videos which can also help your recruiters sort of build their skills. So hopefully some of that is useful for the audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vikram. Thank you, Pavitra. So with this, we come to the end of our webinar today. As Pavitra and Vikram mentioned, you can reach out to them over email. You can also go to their website and download the material. There is plenty of it available for reference. You can connect with them. So this is all from us today. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.